going to sketch it. The way I'm going to kind of lay this out, we're going to find the vertex, we're going to find the x-intercepts, we're going to find the y. So I'm going to do all that work on the right side here, and then we're going to back and sketch it once we have all the answers. I'm going to do a little bit more of an in-depth sketch than I did yesterday, just FYI. So I'll be plotting some points, and we're kind of a lead into what we're going to be doing Thursday. We're going to be doing like more really detailed graphs for these. So today's graphs are pretty rough. What form of the quadratic equation is this? What form of the quadratic equation is this?
Vertex form?
It is vertex form, right, Keon, right? Aiden, I think it was you. So that means you should be able to tell me the
vertex and
you'll tell me the vertex, right? What is the vertex, Aiden?
It's negative 1, 4.
And what did Aiden remember to do?
He remembered that H was a liar.
Yeah, I remember H was a liar, right? So pulling that value out of there, so we know where our vertex is, easy peasy, right? The most important point of the graph is defined. Okay? Then we go to find our x-intercepts. Well, we know about x-intercepts. We know that y is equal to 0. Okay? How am I going to find the x-intercepts? Well, I have to know something about them. Okay? So I know that y is equal to 0. So y is going to be 0. So I'm going to make this equal to 0. Brian, did you say something?
I said, is it 0, 4?
No, it's not 0, 4. So we're trying to figure out what x is. Okay, so we set y equal to 0. Now we need to figure out what x is. That means we need to solve. And because we're solving, I mean, we're going to follow SADMEP. Okay. We know about x-intercepts, which is that the y value is 0, and then we solve for x. We're going to use SADMEP to do that. So I'm looking for any subtraction addition to get rid of first. That's on the outside of the parentheses. So I've got this 4 here to get rid of. Negative 4 equals negative plus 1 squared. If my subtraction addition was on the outside of the parentheses, now I need to look for any division or multiplication that's on the outside of the parentheses. So you remember that negative here is actually a negative 1. That's multiplying those parentheses. So when I think about any division multiplication do, you actually need to get rid of that negative 1. And since it's multiplying, and divide by negative 1 to get rid of it. So on the right, left side, we have a 4 now. On the right side, we have x plus 1 squared. This part, now I need to get rid of the exponent. Get rid of the square. What's the inverse of squaring? How do we square something? Not absolute value. That's it's completely separate.
Multiply itself, or
Not what you said.
I said you multiply it by itself.
What it means to square. That doesn't undo squaring. Say that.
Square root.
Square root. Yeah. We square root to get rid of a square. So the reason we do that is to get rid of it. Right? Those things cancel each other. Just like the reason we subtracted 4 was to get rid of the adding 4. The reason we divided by negative 1 is to get rid of the multiplying by negative 1. The reason we root is to get rid of the square. So that leaves me with the x plus 1 over here. But remember what it means to square something. Right? If you go back to this, some number, right? And this right here is just saying some number. Some number squared is 4. What number squared is 4? What else? Not just 2. It's also -2. So this is how we write that. This is how we address the fact that there's +2 and a -2 here. Right? There are 2 values that would work over here. If this was equal to 2, then 2 squared is 4. But if this was equal to -2, 2 squared is also 4. This is how we address that. +2 and -2 are both answers right now. So we use little plus minus notation. This is a key step to this, guys. Right? This is a thing that people forget all the time. Right? If you notice the number of stars I'm putting on this is important. Okay? When you square root, okay, we decided to square root in order to progress through the problem. There was no square root in the problem. Okay? It never said square root anywhere up here until we decided to do that. Because we decided to do that, we have to address the fact that there's 2 answers to that question. What are 2 square roots of 4? Right? What 2 numbers multiply by themselves to get 4? We have to address that here. Right? As soon as we do this, this has to show up in the problem. Right? It's really easy to forget. But if you don't do it, then you're only going to have one answer, and there's supposed to be 2. How's that work out for you? Okay? We've got to really watch out for this step. Now, the next part, you guys have done something pretty similar as before. How do we address the rest of this? Because x isn't by itself yet, right? We're still trying to solve. Well, split the problem into 2 problems. We say, well, what if 2 is equal to x plus 1? We say, what if -2 is equal to x plus 1? So now we have a little bit more work to do. We just need to split the problem and say, let's deal with the positive side. Let's deal with the negative side. This is kind of similar to what we did with the absolute value stuff, where we split the problem into 2 and then finished it. We still need to get x by itself, so we'll subtract 1. We can see that x equals 1 and x equals -3. That means our x-intercepts are at 1, 0, and -3, 0. So sometimes people don't remember this until too late. They forgot about the plus minus. Oh, there were supposed to be 2 answers to this. So they forget about it too late and say, well, I got 1, so the other one must be -1. All right, but we can see that it's obviously not 1 and -1. Those are not the answers. You have to do this right here so that the rest of the problem plays out correctly. So when you do it is just as important as doing it, period. You can't do it at the wrong time. So as soon as you square root, the next step has to be addressing that plus minus. Then you split it to finish it. Finding the x-intercepts is by far going to be the trickiest part of this, guys. And it does go back to what I think, was it Kylo you said earlier? Yeah, Kylo, you brought up the idea that, that there are solutions to the quadratic equation. So these are actually the solutions to this problem. 1 and -3 are the solutions to this. That's again something we'll talk about more in detail later. Still need to find the y-intercept. That's pretty simple. And we base it off of what we know. If I want to find the y, well, I do that because I know something about x. The x equals 0. So let's say y equals, it was what, negative. So x equals 0 plus 1 squared plus 4. Is that the problem? All right, I'm just plugging 0 in for here. Okay. So 0 for x. Now I don't need to solve this because y is by itself. Right? Solving is a process of getting something by itself. Well, it's already by itself. What I do need to do is simplify this. Okay, we need to make this 0. Figure out what this is actually equal to. So you set x equal to 0, and then you simplify. When you simplify, you follow PEMDAS. When you're solving, you use SATMAP. When you're simplifying, you use PEMDAS. So I'm going to start inside of the parentheses. 0 plus 1, of course, is 1. Squared plus 4. And then I get the exponent. So the wrong thing to do would here be to worry about the negative. The negative, remember, that's a multiplication idea. Start here, squared. Of course, 1 squared is 1. Now negative. Yeah, remember what this is like. This is like there's a negative 1 right here times 1. Negative 1 times 1. That's why it happens at the multiplication level. Okay? So be y equals negative 1 times 1, of course, is just negative 1 plus 4. Negative 1 plus 4 is 3. That means our y-intercept is at 0, 3. New x was 0. We are finding y. 3. Just plug in 0 and do the math. You're not solving, you're just simplifying. Anything that it's like really bugging you guys before I just throw that on the graph to sketch it? Do another one.
Not really.
What was that, Aiden?
Oh, I said not really.
Okay. Like I said, I'm going to do a little bit more of a detailed graph. So I'm going to put little tick marks on this. Numbers are pretty small, so I'm just going to go out to 5 on each axis. Our vertex was at negative 1, 4. I always label my vertex with a V because it is the most important point. So I really want to make sure I understand which point is the vertex. I don't want to get mixed up with the other points that I'm going to plot. That's 1, 0, negative 3, 0. And then the y-intercept was at 0, 3, which is up here. I plotted the points we found. This is a parabola. It's going to be a U shape. We also know that it's going to be a reflected parabola. It's going to be upside down. And instead of opening up, it's going to open down. The vertex is related to all the other points. It's higher than all the other points. Okay, so this graph should curve down, look like this. The thing I can kind of help myself out is noticing that there's more points on the right side. Start drawing the right side of the graph. The curve through those points. Then I want to mirror that. Remember, there's a little mirror there, the axis of symmetry. Right? If you need to draw that, you can. It acts as a mirror, and we just copy that other side. graph, something like that. When you're doing your homework, there's no graphing to do like by hand. Okay? I'm just to help you guys visualize it. The mechanics for the graphing on this assignment is different than the one that I was just showing you guys, like where I just plot the point wherever. It doesn't matter, and I have to go and tell it where to shift and all that by typing. The mechanics on this graphing is different. It's more natural, I'd say. You have to plot the vertex where the vertex is. So you need to find the vertex first and plot it where it goes. And the y-intercept, right? Like we just did, and then you plot that point, and it all it works for you. Okay, so you have two problems that are like that, where you have to graph on this in the realize. Okay? You find the vertex, and it says this in the instructions. It's just that if you're like me and you don't read the instructions, the first time I went to do it, it's not doing it right. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm like, oh, I got to pay attention to what it's asking me to do. All right, so plot the vertex, then plot the y-intercept, and it'll do all the other work for you, getting the shape drawn. But you need to find the 2 points first. Try that again. Kenzie, where's our vertex? Jake, where's our vertex?
Did you call me?
Sure. Jake, yep.
Our vertex is at -3, right? Or no, that's the y-intercept.
I need number two.
Um, six -3.
In the chat. Switching the sign on the H. And take K as it is. The x-intercepts now. This is the one that's most work. In our process here, we're going to set y equal to 0, and then solve. Okay. So we notice this one says function notation. Do not write f of 0. This doesn't become 0. The whole thing becomes 0. The whole other side needs to become 0. Remember, f of x and y are the same thing, so the f of x needs to go away. Okay, not f of 0, but just straight up 0. Okay, now we need to get x by itself. We're going to follow PEMDAS. PEMDAS tells me, or sorry, follow SADMEP. SADMEP says get rid of subtraction addition first. Then get rid of division multiplication. Remember, this is a fraction, 3 is dividing. Multiply to get rid of that 3. We're going to multiply by 3 to get rid of the dividing by 3. It's going to cancel that. So I technically still have a 1 right here, but 1 times something doesn't matter. So that 1 can just go away. If it's been a 2 or something like that, I would need to worry about that. That's the 1. It's just going to disappear. Okay? Like a 2/3. But again, that's something we've talked about. That's 9. X minus 6 squared. Get rid of squares.
Square root.
Square root. Oh. Root both sides. Right hand side, the square and the square root cancel, so we're just left with x minus 6. Right hand side says square root of 9 is 3. But then we say, oh, but wait, you do the plus minus again. Might be you just need to draw yourself your attention to. Okay, forget about plus minus there. And at that point, we're almost done. We just need to address that there's two problems here now. 3 equals x minus 6 and negative 3 equals x minus 6. Let's split them into 2 and add 6 on both sides. Right, x equals 9 and x equals 3. Which means that we have 9, 0 and 3, 0 as x-intercepts. Think about finding x-intercepts you guys want to talk about. This really is the trickiest part of it.
I think I'm good, Mr. Baker.
All right, thanks, Kyle. We're going to find the y-intercept. Means that x equals 0, and then simplify. The whole, or not the whole, sorry. So instead of saying f of x equals, I know the problem started off that way. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say y equals. We had 1/3 0 minus 6 squared minus 3. All right, so I just made this x equal to 0. Now we need to simplify this. Follow DOS. So inside the parentheses first. 0 minus 6 is negative 6 squared. Then we do exponents. So I need to do negative 6 squared. If you type this in your calculator, it will tell you the wrong answer. If you don't know by now, you should. That's not correct. You should be typing it like this if you're trying to use your calculator. If you type your calculator wrong, it's going to give you the wrong answer. It's not the calculator's fault. So negative 6 squared is 36, not negative 36. That'd be 1/3 of 36. 3rd times 36. We talked about that trick. 36 divided by 3 is 12. Times 1 is 12. 1/3 of 36 is 12. 12 minus 3 is 9. I mean, our y-intercept is at 0, 9. It's just a coincidence, like this is 9, 0, 9, 0, 9. There's nothing special about that. We've got our vertex, which is the most important point. We found some other features of the graph, the other intercepts. On these, because some of the numbers are bigger. Make a sketch there. My vertex is at 6, negative 3, which is over here. And I always put an E by my vertex because I need to make sure I really label, like that's an important point, the most important point. I need to know which one's the vertex, which ones are the other things. 9, 0 is my x-intercept. 3, 0 is my x-intercept. 0, 9 is my y-intercept. This time, the left side of my graph has more information. So I'm going to graph that first. From my vertex through the points. Always start vertex. Nice smooth curve. Try to mirror that on the other side. Best your ability. Smoothness. Again, it should kind of be split down the middle. All right, that axis of symmetry is there. If you dash, that's what our would look like. This one's a little bit wider than the other one, right? It's being compressed. If you guys were on your homework, you would plot the vertex. You'd find the y-intercept, plot that point. Once you plot that point and then that point, it does everything else for you. Okay. Another thing I'll show you guys, I will fill this one out if you want to see it. It'll be on the notes. But I want to talk to you guys about this one last thing. Given 2 points on a problem, how do we write the equation for it? It's kind of like what we did with lines. And we had a vertex. We had you guys do that with lines. I gave you 2 points on the line. We had you find the slope and then find the y-intercept and all that stuff with the line to get it to what's the equation of the line. You can do the same thing with a parabola. If I know the vertex and another point, it has to be the vertex. I have to know the vertex in order for this to work. But then I can know any other point on the curve, and we can figure out the curve that goes through it. So essentially, we're doing something like this. We have these 2 points here. We're saying there's only one parabola that will go through both of these, with this being the vertex. It's a unique parabola. So we're trying to find out the equation of that problem. And there's only one curve that'll go through both of those, where this is the vertex. We can find that equation. We're up to want it in vertex form, which means it's going to look like this when we're done. But what do we know right now? We know H, we know K. Okay. We still need to know what A is. We're going to finish this. We have to know what A is.
I was saying we can get the slope from going from like the vertex to, what is it like? What's the thing where you do like x2 minus x1 over y2 minus y1? Or do I have it mixed up?
Yeah,
it's y over x.
Okay. Remember, this is not a line. It does not have a slope. You cannot use that formula.
Okay.
You gotta really care about that. Okay. What we know, right? We need to know what A is, because Y and X are going to stay letters when we're done. Okay. We need to know what this is. The only way for me to figure this out is to know everything else about this problem. Well, right now, I only know these 2 things. We are being given more information, though. We have that value, which is an X value. We have, I guess the value, which is a Y value. If I plug all of those numbers in, then we can figure out what A is. We actually put in the right spots. That's all there is to this. Okay. Let's make sure you're identifying which part's the vertex. That goes for H and K. These go to X and Y. And we're just going to solve for A. Okay. We have to know everything else in order to figure out what any one of these pieces is. All the values. So we are being given enough information. We're giving 4 pieces of information here. We can put 4 pieces into the 4 pieces here and then find the fit. So -6 equals A times my X value, which was -5, minus my H value, which was -3, squared, plus my K value, which was -4. So there I just like purely just shoved stuff in. I didn't think about like what this meant. Right? I didn't address that. I didn't address this, that there is a simpler way to write that. This is purely just dropping numbers into the problem. Okay. I should make it simpler. I shouldn't really do that. I should go ahead and write this the correct way. Oh, that means plus. Oh, this means minus. Right? There's a better way to write it. Okay. Now I need to get A by itself. before we can do that, I have to simplify this down. We have to simplify before we can solve. This is written too complex. -5 plus 3 squared. I have a simpler way of saying that. -5 plus 3 is -2. I have a simpler way of saying this. -2 squared. -2 times -2 is 4. Okay. Be really careful here. Don't fall into the trap that you're trying to do 4 minus 4. This is 4 times A. It's 4A. And I take those 4s and subtract it from each other. Not okay. So 4A, or A4 means 4A. Now I can solve this equation. So we simplify, then we solve, which is definitely a skill you guys have worked on before. So add 4 to both sides. Add both sides by 4. -2 divided by 4 is -1/2. We know what A is. Because my H is -3, I'm going to write +3. Because my K is -4, I'm going to write -4.